This on the cloud. Welcome everyone to this webinar on some educational opportunities that we're excited to tell you about and offer. This is a great professional opportunity, especially for someone who's entering the field of special education and is really interested in potentially having a career in special education where you're traveling to a lot of different places and working with a lot of different kids in a lot of different settings. These careers are for a teacher of visually impaired and also for an orientation and mobility specialist. And at the Department of Education, we have some opportunities here to support people who want to get careers in this field. My name is Erin Frazier. I'm the Director of the Office of Special Services and Inclusive Education at the Department of Education. And that covers birth to 22 special education services. And so the two colleagues of mine that I work with collaboratively in the field are Nancy Moulton from Catholic Charities, who's been there a long time. I mean, Nancy, I can't remember how long I've worked with you, but whenever I have a question, even back in the day when I was a director or a special ed teacher, and then Alicia Stevens, who's from the Department of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And so Nancy's going to share some opportunities about what being a TVI is, what that means, and the educational offering that we're providing for folks. And then also Alicia's going to talk about an orientation and mobility specialist and what careers there are out there. So I'm going to turn this over to them, and they have a presentation for you. And we're just really excited that you took the time to be here, especially in the winter at 4 p.m. And so enjoy this presentation.
All right. Thank you, Erin. So as Erin said, I'm Nancy Moulton. I am the Program Director for Education Services for Blind and Visually Impaired Children through Catholic Charities, Maine. And my co-presenter today is Alicia Stevens with the Division for the Blind and Visually Impaired. So I'm going to, let's see how I do with technology today. We'll give this a shot and see how it goes. So I am going to share my screen, I hope, and I need to share sound and tell me if you get this okay, Erin. So from the beginning, can you see it?
I can see it.
That's a good news. Okay, so welcome. And what we're going to talk about today are the careers of becoming a teacher visually impaired and a certified orientation mobility specialist and programs that are out there. And you could get a master's degree with essentially no cost to you. So this initial presentation was done a while ago and it was little or no cost, but we will get into that in just a minute. So let's see if I can... Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is watch a little video about Emma's story. So I'm gonna just sit quiet. Erin, let me know if you aren't hearing sound or if there's any glitches on this. And there's always 5 seconds of an advertisement or some such thing, but hopefully we'll get right to it.
Grammarly now uses AI to help you write, not just revise. Type a prompt and generate a persuasive, mistake-free
So
draft.
Nancy, I'm not seeing a video, but I'm hearing sound.
You see it?
Nothing's happening on a video.
No video?
I hear the sound, but I don't see a video.
That's not good. Let's see. How are we going to do this? It should show a video, shouldn't it?
It's probably a different window that you need to share for the video.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we're going to stop sharing. So I think we're going to try anyway. That's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Let's see. All right. We are going to... Oh, man. I'm struggling here. Give me a minute. Let's see. I have something that says leave the meeting. I don't think that's what I want to do. Let's see if I can find stop sharing.
I can probably stop sharing now.
Okay, that would be great. Oh,
maybe.
now I can see it. Stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
So now I'm going to share screen. Right. And then I enabled sound. Okay. I wonder
Is it
if
a YouTube video?
it is. And it's showing on my screen now. Let me try one more thing. And if we don't get to see the video, I'll be very disappointed, but life will go
We'll
on.
send it
So
out. We will
I
send it
won't,
out
yeah,
to
I
folks.
won't waste any time, but let's give it a shot. So we're going to try this one and we're going to say share. And
Yeah, I got the video now.
see it. Good.
My name is Lori Planson, my husband Scott Planson, and our daughter who's 5, Emma Planson. Emma is a very outgoing child. She is very happy, likes to laugh, likes to play, full-time in motion, doesn't like to sit a lot.
Jump away, Miss Lindley Frog.
Everything was fine during the pregnancy. We had no idea. She came out, she didn't open her eyes. It was our first child, so we're just thinking eventually it'll happen, and it never did. The pediatrician came to check her out and basically said they could not get her eyes open. We went in the room, there was a table they placed her on, and he was like, you know, I'm about to hurt your child, probably. She's probably gonna scream. So then he took these little things out and pulled, like 2 paper clips, pulled it apart and just said, I'm sorry, your child is blind. Emma started learning Braille in preschool. She spends the first 2 hours of the day doing specifics with her vision teacher. Thereafter, she is in the classroom. The kids are working on writing letters. Emma's got her brailer out, and she's brailing those letters. Basically, they described it as remnants of eyes, which they say if there is an eye at all, as the child grows, the eye also grows, that there must be some sight. Well, her eye did grow. And basically it went from nothing to about the size of your pinky, which to us was fantastic. Well, they first initially said she would have no sight. No light perception, no color perception, nothing. But it was Christmas, and the Christmas lights were up, and she would go up and, you know, feel all the ornaments and the tree, and she would go to a light and look at it, and she'd go to another light and look at that. And she asked us, what is this? And we would say, well, that's a red light. And she would say, what is this? And we'd say, well, that's a green light. And before long, she said, red light, green light, blue light. She started telling us what they were. So that was an awesome Christmas for sure.
Is this because I'm 5.5?
Got to straighten those arms? Yeah. Big girl, you're almost 6. Straighten those arms. Don't follow me. There we go. Good.
It's been one of our goals, of course, to not shelter Emma, to expose her to life and what life is like as a 5-year-old, and any activities, you know, gymnastics, Girl Scouts, whatever she wants to do. It does require a lot. When we get home from working, it's usually about 6, you know, and we've got homework to do, which is at least half an hour. She, of course, wants to have some playtime, and we want to have some time to spend with her as well. We've got dinner, we've got cleaning up the kitchen, we've got bath, you know, and she needs to be in bed by 8:30. So in 2.5 hours, that's a lot to do.
Child.
Mm-mm.
Chill.
Very good. Let's circle that one.
What does chill mean?
To chill out.
What does chill out mean?
To take it easy. Okay, what else you got? This is a big time contraction because it's 2 letters and it stands for a word.
Child.
If you treat your child different than a typical child, they're going to think they're different in a major way. And with Emma, she knows she has to have modifications, but she will never be treated differently in this house than any other child that we would have.
About to go into space.
When you're raising a child with a disability, it's hard. You get frustrated. And on the flip side, it's so awesome when you figure out how to make something happen or you see progress, and it's so worth all that time that you're unsure and had anxiety about. Don't concentrate only on the serious part of the situation. Remember, you're a family, you have a child, have fun with them. The biggest thing I could tell other families is it's going to be okay.
Okay, so I just love that video. And Emma is certainly, one type of child that we see, and we see students with all kinds of varying needs. So, all right, so let's see. So in Maine, Services in Maine, Division for the Blind and Visually Impaired is the agency responsible for providing all services to people in Maine with a visual impairment. And they
Nancy, did you want to share your slideshow?
Right.
Oh,
Did you want? I'm gonna-
thank you,
We're
Erin.
calling you out.
I
I
can
feel
just
like
read
you're
it.
supposed to have a visual.
Yep. Okay, let's try this again. So I need to share my screen again. All righty then. Let's see. You know how much I love this stuff, right? Let's see. Right. Share screen. Is. Thank you, Erin. Okay. Okay. Are we good? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so in Maine, services are delivered by the Division for the Blind, and they employ directly certified orientation and mobility specialists, vocational rehabilitation counselors, and transition counselors or blindness rehab specialists. And then through a contract, they have a contract with Catholic Charities Maine, Education Services for Blind and Visually Impaired Children, to provide all of the teachers of the visually impaired throughout Maine. And we provide those services to schools and to children birth to up to 22. And then there's the IRIS network, which provides services primarily to adults, but also to transition age youth. So first, we're going to start with some questions, okay? And obviously, you don't have to answer these. These are answer them in your head. But a person who is legally blind sees A, nothing at all, B, light and dark, maybe some shapes, C, needs to be at 20 feet to see an object that someone with typical vision can see at 200 feet, or D, needs to be at 20 feet to see an object someone with typical vision can see at 70 feet. And the answer is C. They need to be at 20 feet to see what something that someone with typical vision can see at 200 feet. So people who are legally blind often have some residual vision. Who reads Braille? 75% of people who are legally blind, 50% of people who are legally blind, 25%, or less than 10%. And the answer is less than 10% of the people who are legally blind read Braille. And when you think about that, think about the fact that many people lose vision much later in life, and so they use digital or audio materials. And then we also serve a large population in our program of students with complex needs. And those students don't necessarily use Braille. Living situations, true or false? People who are totally blind won't be able to live by themselves because it won't be safe. People who are visually impaired need special appliances like stoves and washing machines so they can operate them. And people who are visually impaired usually need a helper. And the answer is people who are totally blind won't be able to live by themselves is false. They would need special appliances like stoves and washing machines is false. And that they need a helper is false. They may need a helper based on other disabilities. They may need accommodations. They may need their stove or washing machine marked, but it doesn't, their vision impairment does not limit their independence. Getting around. Let's see what you know about this. Most people who are visually impaired have guide dogs. Guide dogs are helpful because you can tell them to take you to familiar places and they'll know the way. And people who carry a white cane can often see something. Most people who are visually impaired have guide dogs is false. Guide dogs are helpful because you can tell them to take you to familiar places and they'll know the way is false. You have to give them the directions. And people who carry a white cane can often see something is true. So I want to share with you, this is about a 2-minute video. It's a picture of one of our teachers sitting with a Braille book in front of her, and one of our students who has a Braille book in front of her, and there's a Braille writer in the picture. But I want to share with you a video, and we'll see if this plays. If I just click on this link, I don't know if this is going to work or not. So I'm going to ask somebody to let me know if it doesn't. And this is a video that our teachers made of why they do what they do.
Same thing.
Same thing?
issue.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna stop. Well, maybe.
And reshare.
Moment. There's
Oh,
always something new,
great.
something exciting going on. We serve kids from
Oh,
0
technology
to
is just not
22.
my thing.
And so I
Hang
can
on
be
a
working
minute.
with the
Sorry about
baby
that.
at 9 in the morning, and at 12 I can be doing.
Stop blurry. Okay, so we are going to try this again. And we'll go back to the Zoom meeting. And I stopped sharing, correct? So we're going to reshare. Share screen. This is not looking good. All right. No, we're going to stop that. I think what we'll do is skip that. It was a great video, but we will send it out, and it'll tell you why the people that I work with do what they do. And as Erin alluded to earlier, I have been doing this for a very long time, 35 years to be exact. So it is a job that, and I am not the person with the most longevity. So just so you know that, I have teachers who have worked with us for 40 years. So it is a great career in our opinion. Okay, so we're going to go to okay, so the things you might do as a TVI. We work with, babies. We motivate infants to engage in touching parts of a musical toy, while at the same time working with their parents about how they can interact with this child and make life meaningful for them. We might teach a 7-year-old student who's blind to independently make a banana smoothie or a peanut butter sandwich. We teach students about their visual impairments and how to advocate for their needs and the accommodations that they need. We collaborate with classroom teachers and other therapists to be sure that students have access to all areas of the curriculum. We may teach Braille to a high school student, use of technology, all kinds of things like that. So what we really want to talk about today too is how to become a TVI. So You need a bachelor's or a master's in education with a concentration in visual impairment or blindness. And you need to be certified to teach in the state of Maine as a teacher of students with visual impairment, which is 291. So if you already have a bachelor's in anything, you can enter the master's program that we're going to talk most about in a few minutes, the UMass program. You might have to take a few courses in education, along with the other classes that you take around visual impairment, but it is doable. You don't need a bachelor's in education necessarily. You can add an endorsement in visual impairment to your existing teaching certificate, but you need a lot of requisite courses, and most people go into the master's program. And this is a university distance learning, or there are on-campus programs, and we're going to talk a little bit about both of those. So where to go? There's a link here in the PowerPoint that will list a lot of programs throughout the country. There are a couple of bachelor's programs, most are master's degree. And then if you have questions, if you attend this webinar and you have any questions at all, please feel free, and I can direct you to get more information specific to your question. So UMass Boston is the program that we use a lot. We work very closely with. I'm the liaison to the UMass program for teachers visually impaired. They have two different federal grants, one for TVI and one for O&M, and they may have others too for vision rehab therapy. And but the ones we're talking about today are TVI and O&M. O&M is in the middle of a 5-year cycle right now. They may even be only in their first or second year. TVI, they're in the midst of looking at one grant is going to finish, and they're looking at other grants. The distance ed master's program typically takes people about 2 to 2.5 years. They usually start in May and then go 2 full school years, and then the following year do their practicum or student teaching. When it first started and they were going to do this program, distance learning, which was, I would say, this is off the top of my head, but I think it was over 20 years ago. When that came about, I remember thinking to myself, I do not know how you're going to do this for a career that is so dedicated to hands-on learning. And I will say that UMass was a pioneer in this, and that they have done an excellent job. And what they do is they pair very closely with the states that they serve. So we provide a lot of hands-on opportunities for the students who are in the program. So if you need to do observations or you need to work with kids, we can help make that happen. It's federally grant funded, but our Maine Department of Education has agreed to assist if necessary, if there's any gap in the funding right now, so that there's no cost to Maine students. Here's the key. I need you to really hear the deadline for admission, if you're interested in this, is March 1st. That's coming up very quickly. So I have a link. I have it, I think, more than once in this PowerPoint. So into the program to get more information. And as I said earlier, there are a few prerequisite courses in education that you'd need, but they can be done after you've been accepted into the program. They don't have to be done prior. And then another program that, in case you're in a place where you would be willing to relocate for a year, Northern Illinois University has funding for both TVI and O&M students. The TVI program is about 15 months. It's an in-person program, but they have full tuition, health insurance paid, and a stipend of $9,500. And then we would work with Northern Illinois to provide internship or student teaching opportunities, and see if we could get that part to happen up here. I'm not sure about that, but I've done that with other universities in the past. And so there's a link to their webpage as well. And then Alicia, I think I should hand it over to you. And Alicia, do you want me to control the PowerPoint, or do you have it and you want to share it, which is easier?
I have it queued up. that one video, so
Okay.
I'll go ahead and stop sharing and I'll try it.
All right. Let's see if you have more success than I do. Okay.
Okay. And I'm Alicia Stevens. I'm an orientation and mobility instructor. And yes, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and hit play and let you, whoops, video. Yes.
There's no sound.
Oh. I'm going to leave it with the closed captioning and
Okay.
we'll leave it like that for just now. And anybody can go ahead and watch this.
So just in case there's anyone here who's not able to see the screen, it's an O&M instructor who is providing instruction to a student in a school.
Not sure why I hear it.
Yeah, we can't hear any sound. There.
So I'll go ahead and stop it. So basically, we work in all different areas. Orientation mobility focuses on instructing individuals who are blind and visually impaired, and we help them with safe and effective travel through their environment, whether it be home, school, or their community. And we're the ones that we help them, where they're going and how they're going to get there safely. And let me go ahead and share the rest of the PowerPoint. And I do have 2 videos. That's so weird. It started this top. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Will not. Okay, Nancy, I'm gonna let you start. For some reason, it's not letting me. Can you hear me, Nancy?
Yes, I was muted. So let me share my screen.
I apologize.
Okay. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
All right. So some of the things that we do, we might orient a college student who is blind to a new campus using the tactile map, teaching them the bus routes. There's many things as far as like where they're oh gosh, that's the word, where they're sleeping at night to where their classes are. We may show them the newest, safest routes, and we may use a map or may not use a map depending on their vision loss. We may explore a bus with a child who is blind in order to understand the difficult concept of what a bus is. And so we would walk them through, let them touch the bus, and just understand everything that they can about a bus. Then we might even teach a student to cross 2 busy streets to get to work. So if it's a vocational student, because we do work with the children all the way up to adults, and the adults could be 90 years old. So and we do work with vocational counselors, and those counselors may ask them to go to work, and they may have to learn how to cross a busy street, and that's where we would come in if they need help. We might also teach a student who has low vision to read a bus schedule and how to catch the bus to meet their friends at a mall. And these are the two videos that one of them I showed you just like a minute of it. There's a lot more to it. I'll let you go ahead and watch that. And then we also have working and living in Maine and kind of what we do and why we love doing what we do. So some of the services that orientation mobility, what we do is we might do a glare evaluation, which would include using sun filters because glare is a big issue for someone with vision impairment. We might do high contrast taping for safety and identification, which I'll show you some photos of that. Human guide training, that would be for the student and or the families. Also staff, if that's needed. Sometimes Catholic Charities and orientation mobility instructors will work together and we'll do a staff presentation as well. So we also do long cane training and we do guide dog support. We also teach apps for travel and support. And so how we missed that spelling. We do orientation to new buildings and teach self-protective techniques. And I'm going to show you a few pictures with the comments that I had just stated. So as you can see in the photo, the person's trying to reduce the glare by using their hand. And then the next photo shows what it would be like to use sun filters and how different you can see if you have residual vision. So, and on the right, we have a bunch of different colors. And we do work with many different colors depending on the vision loss. Next, thank you. We do high contrast safety. As you can see the difference, there are like different stairs like at schools that we've marked with either whatever tape is the best for the student with black and yellow, it could be green, depending on the student. And we do things as well as like marking parts of buildings or if there's pillars or anything in the school, we might mark those or doorways if it all blends together and we want to be able to tell the best spot, be able to differentiate, we mark things for the schools or the adults, whichever the case may be. And then the next one, human guide training, we will teach this. There's more to it than just where you hold somebody. It's also turning, seating, and this picture just shows the basic hold. And sometimes the student will use their long cane or they won't. And then the next one would be something we teach called self-protective techniques. And this would include upper hand and forearm techniques, but we also have a modified version that would protect your face. And then we have lower hand and forearm, and this is kind of if somebody has a hard time differentiating or knowing exactly where to know where the table is or something like that, this particular technique will help them. And in this picture, I have like 3 different kiddos with 3 different types of long canes or adaptive equipment. And we teach all different aspects from beginning to ending of long cane techniques. It's a lot more than just 1 or 2 times. There could be a lot to it depending on their disabilities, their vision loss, or how quickly they learn. We also teach transportation for buses and taxis. I know he's too young for taxi, but on the picture of the little boy, you can see right behind him, the steps are actually marked with white to differentiate the steps. But we will teach students how to get on and off buses, even if it's a regular school bus or a bus such as like the city bus. We work with guide dog schools. We will work with different clients if they have to come back and learn more routes after they leave the school. We will work with them to teach that the dog and the student the best route. And again, what Nancy had said earlier, the person has to know their orientation mobility skills of where they're going prior to having a guide dog, because the dog will only go where you want it to go. It will help you not bump into things, but it has to know where to go. There's a lot of different apps that we're learning every day, new apps for orientation mobility. And IRA is one of them. And as you can see on this picture, there is a person with a headset, and they're the one that would answer the call. And on their screen in front of them is a picture of a sidewalk, and that is coming in from somebody's iPhone or a different type of phone. And that person can ask the person who uses the IRA app can call and say, all right, I'm right here at a sidewalk. I need to go from point A to point B. Can you tell me what you see? They cannot do it while you're traveling, but they can do it if you're standing still and tell you which direction or where you are, if there's like a street sign or what's around you. Navigating new spaces and building a mental map, we use different tools, such as the tactile town, as you can see in this photo. There's we use like lines and squares and circles, and we use the green that you can see on this as grass. There's all different kinds of things that will Velcro onto our weekly map, and that will help us be able to teach students, like say their classroom is very odd or unique, and they need to go from past the gym, or they have to go down the hall or whatever. We can teach them on a tactile map where rooms are set up, the way that the route that they have to go, especially if it's confusing or a small child. We can definitely use a tactile map. And then there is additional things. We have used an FM system. We've used sensor there because the student has dual sensory loss, so we'll need some kind of like an FM system or a pocket talker or hearing aids, and something that's in direction, like they have to be told right, left, things like that, just to be sure where they're going. The next one. And what do you need to be an orientation and mobility specialist? You need a bachelor's degree. You need a master's degree or a graduate certification in orientation mobility, and that is required. And an undergraduate degree in O&M is obtained. So the program is about 2 to 4 semesters of coursework, plus a practicum and an internship. And the practicum is where you would be occluded yourself and learn these techniques, especially the long cane skills. And the internship is where you would be teaching students under supervision. And then, as Nancy said, many universities offer distance education classes and or on-campus coursework. And finally, you do have to pass a certification exam. And that exam is a couple hours. It's not, if you do the internship and the practicum, you should have no problem with passing the certification. And if you have any other questions, you feel free to call me or email me and or Nancy. I'll put it back to you, Nancy.
Okay. All right. So next steps. So if any of this interests you, and hopefully it does, then remember the deadline is March 1st, and I believe that's for both TVI and O&M. I know for fact it's for TVI program. I put the web address in, and someone did ask in the chat if we would be sending out the PowerPoint, and yes, I believe the PowerPoint is going to be sent out. So I think Erin is going to be able to do that, I'm hoping. And then I have the link to the UMass Vision Studies program, and then my information is in here again. And so Joyce.
Nancy, we do have a question. Joyce, you saw it too. Okay.
I
Just
did,
making
thanks.
sure.
No, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am more interested if your department gives trainings on CVI, not TVI, CVI, torticollis and its effects on vision. I work with babies, and we have a lot of kids with torticollis, and we are discovering that at some point they have not total blindness, but their eyes are not coordinated. So they fall, they bump into things. They stay in the corner because it's scary for them.
So Joyce, so did I hear you correctly that you're asking if there's training provided on cortical visual impairment, CVI? Is that what you asked?
Yes,
So
I don't want a master's. I'm too old to go back to school.
So as part of the program at UMass Boston, there is coursework in cortical visual impairment. So that is an important piece of the training. We work with a lot of students who have cortical visual impairment, and yes, that's a big part of the program, and it's a big part of what we do.
Okay.
I think that what Joyce was asking is if your agency, Nancy, provides training in that.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Erin. Yes, we do. We work with, if a student has been identified with a visual impairment, if they have been referred to us and they have been identified as a student with visual impairment, we'll work with teams and provide training around cortical visual impairment. Yes.
Okay.
And Joyce, I think you work for CDS, so you should get together with your EIPM, I think at Reach, and she can coordinate some training for your team if that's something that you're running into a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Does anyone else have any questions? I think I feel like we threw a lot at you pretty quickly.
We're definitely going to be able to take questions if you think of them after. Remember that you do not need a bachelor's degree in any educational area. I, in fact, am a person who has an undergraduate degree, not in education, and here I am in education for 30 years. So I do have degrees now in education, but so, this is a nice opportunity for you to do that kind of move into a field that actually moves beyond education. I'm always focused on the school, birth to 22, but there is opportunities here for you to work expansively with a lot of different folks. Adria, you have a question.
Yeah, thank you. So I missed this. I apologize. Is this 100% asynchronous? There are no in-person classes except for the practicum and internship pieces, or no?
So no, at UMass Boston, I don't know if there are some online class work things that you do together. You don't have to go. It used to be, okay,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
good. So
I
it
just
used
didn't
to be.
know. I apologize. Go
Prior
ahead.
to COVID, you did have to go to UMass once a semester. And this is for the TVI program. I think for the O&M program, there is a period where you do have to go in person. And Alicia may know more about that, but for the TVI program, it's all done online now. I think there are scheduled class times that you have to be available with a lot of the work being done asynchronously. But to my knowledge, it's all done. And I really encourage you, if you have very specific questions about that kind of thing, just to verify that information with UMass. And so go on to their website, and the program coordinator, Tammy Reisman, can answer any of your specific questions, but hopefully that answered.
Post-COVID, universities are really being very open to creative solutions. And so someone asked in the chat, is this only for residents of Maine? Yes, it is only for residents of Maine. However, and we, in agreeing to, provide you with the financial assistance to obtain this virtually free of cost, would want you to work in Maine for 2 years. But I will tell you that this is an area of need around the country. So it's a skill that is marketable everywhere, probably in the world. So it's just, very few people have this, which is why we're really campaigning. Like, this is why my department's prioritizing getting people trained in this area, because we have very few TVIs and orientation mobility specialists in Maine. And in fact, many of them have worked here so long that they're going to reach retirement soon. And so we really worry about that. So anyway, I'm just saying that if you're in Maine and you want to stay here for a few years and take advantage of this, go ahead, Erin. Adria, are you all set?
Yes, I am. I apologize.
That's okay. No worries. All right, Erin Brown, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I was curious to know if you know of any current or future openings in the Bangor area for TVIs.
So it's difficult to answer that question because it is a 2.5 year program that you're going to be in. So I will tell you that that I have vacancies right now. The vacancies are not in the Bangor area, but I also know that I have in the next 2 to 5 years, I'm expecting throughout the program for there to be probably up to 5 people who are going to retire in the next 2 to 5 years. Specifically in Bangor, I don't see an opening right now, but that doesn't mean there isn't going to be, and it might be in the greater area. So I know right now, we kind of look at the caseloads and then look at where the need is. It's a good question, and it's really kind of hard to answer because in the state of Maine, there are 16 and a half TVI positions. And so it's really a small number of positions. But I can't commit is really my answer to you. Sorry, Aaron.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Sure.
One thing we did not mention was the itinerant part of our jobs. That we do travel and through the state of Maine for orientation mobility instructors. The majority of them have a state car, but some will also put in mileage. But we do have to go to like a student's school. We go to a client's home. So I just wanted to throw that out to you.
You probably get paid during transportation, and if you're using your own vehicle, you get mileage or you get a car provided to you. So those are all things that you wouldn't be expected to use your own dime to get around the state, just so you know.
Right.
Melissa?
Hi, can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, so I was wondering, is this program available to those who work full-time jobs? Like I work for Margaret Murphy Center for Children, and I work 8 to 4, sometimes 4:30, depending on my day. Is this friendly to a working person?
Thank you.
Like, is there?
Because I meant to say that earlier, and I forgot that that most of the people that have gone through the program that I can remember recently have all been full-time, had a full-time job. Yes, so most people do this while they're working. Now that's the online program through UMass. If you are going to Northern Illinois, that might be different in the 15-month program. But yes, most of the people through the UMass program have do work full-time job. And I see a question in the chat. Did that answer your question before I move on?
Yes, I was also wondering pay scale on average for any of the positions, like a general pay scale.
Sure. So for teachers of the visually impaired, and I'm sorry, because I didn't pull that up right in front of me, but it's when people are starting with a master's degree and no experience, I think the beginning scale is about 42 or something like that. And it goes up to it's 65 or a little more than that. So I apologize. I don't have those figures in front of me, but that's the general range for a TVI. And TVIs are a school year position, whereas O&Ms are a state line. And I don't know if Alicia wants to speak to that, but it's a year-round position.
School year means you get the summers off. That's not bad. I've done it twice myself as a teacher.
Yeah. Alicia, did you want to say anything more?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Hold on, I just had it. Okay. The lowest of going into this position would be 47,800 something, and the highest step it was 64 something, 64,542.
So those are pretty comparable to a teaching position. And, I really do think in some of these specialized areas, at some point, there's work being done in states, and I certainly think everybody in special ed should get paid more. That's just my personal philosophy. So I think with specialization like this and such a shortage in this area, at some point you're going to see those salary scales climb. I'll just say that.
And I would really say that, I was going off the top of my head. So if somebody really wants that information, then email me. And I have my email in there, and then I could get you more accurate figures. So I would feel better about that. And then the question in the chat is, how is the process started for funding the master's program? One applies to the university, and then do we notify you? And also if they have 2 masters in education in 20 years, or adjustments made to the number of courses. And I would say that you would apply to the master's program, and we would find out at that time, then we would have conversations about where we were with the federal grant, and then be in touch with Erin about getting the funding for the rest of the program if it's not being fully funded by the federal grant. And then if you have 2 masters in education, I think that would be between you and the university as to what courses you would need. I think you're going to need most of them, but that's a university question. So that's something that you would email the coordinator, who is Tammy Reisman, for the University of Massachusetts.
Melissa has another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Don't
So
be
I
sorry.
have an associate in culinary and an associate in restaurant management. So completely not even close to the education field. How would I go about getting, how would I proceed to this program?
I think you'd have to achieve the bachelor's level first. So in whatever you want, but if you're going to go after a bachelor's, I would take some education courses in there, because it would make it easier for you. So you need at least the bachelor's to then go on for the master's, or you could look at the bachelor's programs that are out there. But to my knowledge, I don't know that any of the bachelor's programs are distance ed. I think those are in person. I know Kutztown University in Pennsylvania has a bachelor's program, but that's an in-person program. So those are the 2 things that I think about. Is you definitely need at least a bachelor's.
So there are great ways, though, to get a bachelor's degree. With 90 hours, you have 2 associate's degrees, you have 90 hours, which could qualify you as an Ed Tech 3. You're probably working under that. In many of our SAUs, we're feeding a pipeline of teachers. And so you might get an SAU, a school administrative unit or district, if you want to think of it like that, to support your education to become a special education teacher. That's how I did it. I was an Ed Tech 3, and they paid for my master's degree, and I got a master's degree. And then I went from there in regard to being a teacher. So there's lots of orientation and mobility specialists in TVI are very, very, there's a lot of shortages there. So there's a lot of money being pumped into those fields, but special education is the same. So there's always a way to work with an employer. And it's something that, there's always ed tech jobs, and there's people who are trying to attract ed techs by kind of providing that level of education, which is, it's added salary. Okay, Erin, you have a question. Nancy, I'm going to transition host to you, and then you can just close out the meeting. I'm going to have to run for another meeting in the commissioner's office, but please reach out to me, and I'll put my email in the chat, or Nancy or Alicia, and let us know. We will navigate all of this with you and just support you in any way we can. So have
Erin,
a great, yeah.
Before you leave, how do I stop the recording? And do I have the ability to do that? Just end the meeting? Okay, good enough. Good.
All right.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, now, Erin, did you have a question?
I did. Just another quick one.
Great.
You said that these are itinerant positions, so there's a lot of travel involved, and I assume that the caseload would be based on need. So I don't know how it works, but if this is an itinerant position and I live in the Dover Foxcroft area near Bangor, say that there are maybe 5 people in the general vicinity who need services for TVI, and I'm traveling around, what if these people move away?
Right.
What happens to the position?
So that's the beauty of our program. So the beauty of our program is you would, well, first of all, it would be very unlikely that all 5 would move away. So it
Well,
might be one of your high need students might move away, and then your territory might change, and you might have to drive farther to see a student. So typically our caseloads are ranging around anywhere between, 17 and 24 is a rough guess. So you've got a large number of students, and it's usually a fairly large geographic area as well. So we would look at if somebody moved, if caseloads change, and they change every year. So no one's caseload is guaranteed if you have a caseload this year that it's going to be identical next year. It most likely is not, because you're going to have students graduate and we're going to have new referrals. So we manage that. The supervisors review the referrals, we work with teachers, and we decide together who's going to see which students based on the needs of the students and the needs to make sure that we meet everybody's needs.
okay, thank you. So
You're
I work
welcome.
as a tutor, that's why I'm asking this. So if my students leave, I don't get paid, essentially. My job just disappears. So
Sure.
in these positions, if your students move away, you just gain more students in a different area, but the position itself does not change.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. You are employed. We have their full-time positions, and it would mean that we would readjust the caseloads. Correct. Okay. And Joyce, I saw your question that if you had a child that you suspected had some vision issues, do you contact me directly? That would be just fine. I think your best bet is to either call or email me. And I'm Nancy Moulton at Catholic Charities. And then we can talk about whether, if the student's vision is impacting their education. So we provide services throughout the state of Maine. So I appreciate you sharing what you're learning with your colleagues. That sounds great. Does anyone else have any questions about the TVI program? I don't want to hold people longer than, I appreciate everybody's time and everyone coming to this.
I have a quick question. I work with babies.
Yes.
Do you work with babies?
We do. We
Okay,
work with
good.
babies, birth to 22. So, and we
Great.
work with students all over the state. We are a statewide program. So absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Hello,
Oh.
can I just tell people this is a very fascinating topic, and I work with babies, and we are discovering that the most important area of development in a baby is the vision.
Right.
So
Thank you.
It's a no-brainer. I just don't feel like going back to school.
Well, we love what we do. We wouldn't be doing this for, I have 3 people, I think, who have 3 or 4 people who have more experience and have been in Maine as a teacher of visually impaired longer than I have, and I've been at it for 35 years. So it's, that's a large number considering we only have 17 positions. But we appreciate everyone coming. I don't want to hold anybody up any longer unless there's any other questions. And Adria, do you have a question? I saw
Yeah,
your hand.
I had one other question.
Great.
I know that you mentioned that anyone who participated in the program and used that grant funded that grant money would be they would want them to work in the state for 2 years. Is that under a specific organization? Would that be specifically through Catholic Charities, or would it have to be through the Maine Department of Education? What is that requirement there?
So it's I believe that would be as a teacher of visually impaired in the state of Maine, and all the teachers of the visually impaired are employed by Catholic Charities.
Oh, they are.
Or orientation mobility. And so in that case, all of the orientation mobility specialists are employed by the Division for the Blind. So you wouldn't necessarily have to commit to being, you know, anything beyond that. It's providing the service. It's having the job in the state of Maine.
Okay, so there's not any one spot that you'd have to, any one organization you'd have to work for, then it would just be.
I don't believe so. I mean, that's an Erin question, I guess, more than me,
no,
because
that's
she's the one
fine.
who's gonna
That's
handle
totally
the
fine.
money. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's Catholic Charities has the contract with the Division for the Blind to provide all of the education services, the TVI services in the state, and that's provided to schools at no cost to families or schools. So I can't imagine that that's going to change dramatically unless something changes that I don't know about.
Yeah, I was looking at O&M, you know, specialist positions and stuff like that, and a lot of them are listed in VA hospitals and such. So I didn't know if not in necessarily the state of Maine, but in other states, some O&M specialist positions are listed in hospitals and things like that. So I didn't know if you guys worked with them as well.
So yeah, if you were going to look at working with for O&M and specifically for adults, you'd have to have that conversation with Erin to find out about
no, I'm just looking at all the possibilities right now.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's the way to do it. Look at that. Yeah, perfect. All right. And then would the teaching certificate be part of the grant? So if you completed the master's program, then you would be eligible for the teaching certificate. So the teaching certificate isn't part of the grant per se, but you would have you would meet all of the criteria needed for the teaching certificate. So it would be on you to get the certificate, but if you've completed the master's program, you should be able to meet all the requirements for that. All right. Any other questions? Don't want to miss anyone. All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.